Before we get started with the podcast, I wanted to give a quick forward that as I was finishing up with the other part of the podcast here, that it was announced that the Buffalo Bills are looking into a UCL injury with Josh Allen and his elbow. The injury wasn't enough to take Josh Allen out of the game, and he still ripped a big fastball down the middle of the field with the injury, but it is something to monitor, and it's interesting that they bring it up at all. So the fact that it didn't drive him from the game means it's probably not too serious, but the fact that they're looking into it and the fact that he's dealing with it at all is definitely concerning. And should it get worse and knock him out for the season, that would be obviously a death blow to the Bills and whatnot. And really, they need Josh Allen to be as dynamic as possible to really fulfill their ultimate potential, which is winning the Super Bowl. So we'll hope for the best with Josh Allen, but I wasn't aware of that when I recorded this a little earlier in the day. So I wanted to put that out front, that to color that it would definitely color me a little bit more pessimistic on the Bills had I known that Josh's injury was a little bit more serious. He did get hit. You could definitely see it. And he was holding his elbow a little bit and kind of working his hand after that. But once again, he did rip a big fastball, and it didn't seem to affect the throws at all. It just could be kind of a degenerative thing. And it's something that they're taking a closer look at this point. Likely going to be a rest situation, if anything, if he misses any time. He's really tough, and he may not miss any time, it seems, from what I'm seeing, but they still don't know, and they still haven't come out and said at this point. So when you listen to the Bills Jets portion of the podcast, just know I wasn't aware of any sort of MRIs or anything like that, and we still don't know at this time. So there it is. Hope Josh is okay. He's an incredibly dynamic player who I've enjoyed watching for years, and I would hate to see him out because he's part of what makes football interesting. So I hope he's okay. Enjoy the rest of the podcast. What's up, everybody? It's the Roundtable Sports Podcast. My name is Taylor McLean, and the internet is up and working in my house, so we're podcasting today, getting to a bunch of games here. I've already watched 5 games, and it's not even noon on a Monday yet, so I've been after it. And there's plenty of intrigue throughout the league, so I'm excited to go through the results with you and what I found when I rewatched a bunch of these games. Before we get into it, I want to shout out to our new sponsor, Evergreen Power Solutions. Once again, for my Texas listeners, please give them a call. The number is 214-444-9816. Call because not only do you want to support your boy and the podcast, but this would be an easy way to save yourself money now and in the long term with your power bill. They're going to go in there, help you get the lowest rate possible at this time, work with whatever kind of situation you have going. And then throughout the time that you're with them, they're going to go in there, renegotiate your rates, make sure that it never goes above what you signed up at and may in fact go lower. So good service for me. I would always forget to renew my contract or go and mess with my power rates when it became time. So Evergreen's got me covered from here. They can have you covered as well. Once again, the number is 214-444-9816. Let them know that Taylor McLean and the Roundtable Sports Podcast sent you. That's how I get credit that you found out from me. So give them a call and let's get to the games. First off, I watched the Buffalo Bills loss to the New York Jets. And I told my dad before the game, after I had told him that I was totally okay with him gambling on the Buffalo Bills, because I thought that they would for sure handle their business versus a plucky Jets team. But I said to him, hey, there is always a weird Buffalo Bills versus New York Jets game. There was last year, there has been before. So while this absolutely surprises me, it does go to show you that in divisional games, these teams see each other a lot. So they're a lot more prepared for the things that other team does on offense or does on defense than your given team. There's a lot more time spent in the offseason on these teams. And when you're going to play them twice, you want to put your due diligence in. And the Jets have had a good game plan for the Buffalo Bills in recent years. So while it does surprise me a bit, it shouldn't, because the Jets have had a pretty good showing against the Bills, even at their worst. And you got to give credit to the Jets. Their kicker may have fallen down on the opening kickoff, but they didn't let that kind of bad omen get them down. And they managed to pick off Josh Allen on that first drive. Josh had a couple of uncharacteristic throws in this game. And if I had to put the game on one thing and one reason that a team won the game, it was the Jets' ability to make Josh uncomfortable in the pocket. It's not often that you see Josh get sacked 5 times, and they did a lot more to affect Josh's throws. There were a lot of hands in face. There were a lot of them going for the ball when Josh was reaching back to throw. And they've been pretty consistent with their ability to create pressure with their front as well. Then you throw in Sauce and some improvements in the secondary, and it's been something that has carried the Jets throughout the season. And I think more often than not, they win in spite of the offense, not because of it. I think it's the defense that carries this team for the most part. And that was a big part of it today. Quentin Williams doesn't get a whole lot of pub, but I think he's developing into a legitimate game wrecker in the middle. And of course, it's not just Q. They're getting contributions from all over the field, but I think it stems from there. And then having solid linebacker play from Quan, and of course, big from CJ Mosley as well. It wasn't a complete domination by the Jets by any means, but they did make big plays, not only with the early pick, but with the Sauce Gardner pick later on to get it back. Sauce wasn't perfect on this day either. He got double moved by Diggs early and then got bailed out by the pick on that first drive. And Diggs was able to get loose throughout the game, but still there were times where Sauce was able to take him away, and Josh was getting harassed, and it just didn't look great. Josh was still able to do a lot of things in this game, and I'm not super worried about the offense going forward. It's not every team that has playmakers at all 3 levels like the Jets, which is a weird thing to say when it comes out of your mouth, but it is what it is. I still like Buffalo a lot on offense. It's just a really bad matchup when they're not really a dominating physical line presence. And then the Jets are able to stack up some guys that are able to get physical with you on the line. And Saleh has a pretty solid scheme as far as putting pressure on a quarterback. So it's all kind of coming together on that end for the Jets. The offense is a little less continuous there. Losing Breece Hall hurt them a pretty good deal. Being able to have Michael Carter and Breece Hall on the field at all times and being able to create mismatches with those 2 rushers is part of what had made the Jets dangerous on offense to this point. I still think Michael Carter is a quality running back, and I think that he should continue to get the bulk of the carries and the bulk of the work. James Robinson is just fine, and I think he provides a solid change of pace for Michael, but I still see Michael being the back of choice going forward, and I think he has a lot of pop as a runner and a catcher of the football. James Robinson is solid also, though, so that's going to be something to monitor for your fantasy players going forward. The other thing you can see out on the field, there's a burgeoning connection between Garrett Wilson and Zach Wilson. They seem to be getting comfortable with each other, and Garrett seems to be catching up with the speed of the game a little bit as far as getting him out there and getting him into some space. He's still a little slight, so I'd like to see him put on a little weight over the offseason so that, you're not able to push him around a little bit, but you can see that the run after catch skills are there. You can see that he's really fluid as a runner and catcher of the football. And I think that that's a connection that if Zach can continue to progress as well, that they can continue to grow on. It's funny too, because I like Elijah Moore a lot, and I know a lot of people liked what they saw from him last year, but he doesn't seem to be involved at all. As a matter of fact, I put in my notes to check on his injury status during this game to see why he wasn't getting any sort of juice. And he was out there, but it was only for 27 snaps. So just a little touch less than half. Seems like they've really gone to Denzel Mims more in a lot of those moments, but still with Corey Davis out, you would think that there'd be more opportunities to get all three on the field. Seems like they're more content to play Braxton Berrios as the slot receiver at times. So not great for his prospects going forward. And he didn't get traded. And, he's still got years on his rookie contract left. So I wrote that down and I found it curious that the Jets would go there with that. But overall, for a team that lost one of their best linemen and then lost what's supposed to be their future left tackle in the preseason, they've actually put together better line play than you would think. And then throw that together with the running game. I feel like they should be getting more out of the offense because as fun as it is to watch Zach Wilson play, he's still got a long way to go as far as his within the pocket throwing, as well as his just overall decision making and accuracy. The decision making and whatnot is one thing that's supposed to come with time, and you're supposed to get better with that. So that's one thing. But he definitely needs to get his feet under control. Feels like he's throwing off schedule even when he's within the pocket. Like he's throwing off his back foot when he shouldn't really be having to do that. Feels like he's just maybe over eager and he's trying to throw the ball too quickly or something. He needs to work on the feet portion of it, because if your feet are in line and your body's in line, the ball is going to come out more accurately and hopefully more on time, because he needs to throw with a little bit more anticipation as well. But those are all things that can come with time. So he excites me to no end. I love watching him escape. He makes escapes that he shouldn't be able to make and other quarterbacks can't make. And then he does pretty good when he's outside of the pocket and is able to, play within space and make those throws. It's just when he gets a little tighter in the pocket and when he's under duress and he's not able to run away from it, that's when he tends to struggle, which don't we all? But still, it's a big problem for him right now with the interceptions, with the fumbles that are happening. You got to be tighter when it comes to those things. So that's kind of the next step for him. The good thing is you can see flashes of what could make him special overall as well. So you can see flashes of his escapability and looking like Fran Tarkenton out there when he's running the ball a little bit. But still, he's got a lot to tighten up and get ready there. It's just, he didn't get a ton, just things he's going to have to work forward with for year 3 if he's going to progress to those next stages of quarterback, because that's the next level of progression for Zach Wilson, is becoming next level as a decision maker, as an anticipatory thrower, and just having everything buttoned up at not all times, because you need him to let loose to take advantage of his special qualities of getting out of the pocket and being really athletic. But I just want to see more on the composure end. The next game that I watched was the Miami Dolphins take on the Chicago Bears. Two quarterbacks that I've been watching pretty closely and have put videos out in the past that I believe in them and that I think they can be special quarterbacks in the NFL. They both have a good ways to go to reach their ultimate potential, but both of them have been giving us tastes of what they can do and where they can go from here. Tua, of course, is a little further along in the process. He's had, just like Justin, he was off and on the field in his rookie year. So they're pretty equal as far as how they've been treated up until this point. Tua, of course, got the massive upgrade in wide receiver with Tyreek Hill and heck, having Trent Sherfield and Cedric Wilson along with Mike Gesicki is a big upgrade to what he's been dealing with in his first 2 years as receivers, when first it was just Mike Gesicki and sometimes Devontae Parker. Getting in Jalen Waddle last year, not having him for the full year, but getting him in here showed us some flashes of what they could be. And now that they've got Tyreek on the other side, that certainly makes them so much more dangerous than they ever were. Plus, you've added Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson, which we'll get to a little later, and Terran Armstead. So huge upgrades all around for Tua Tagovailoa, and he's gotten a massive upgrade with the play calling of Mike McDaniels. I really like the way that he's been scheduling and creating offense to this point. He's been really creative and has continued to show that he has new ideas about play action, about the way to scheme open things for his team. So even with all those things, I've been really encouraged with the progress that Tua has shown in his quarterbacking and the mental side of the game. Because as I've been saying for weeks, the ultimate upside of Tua and the ultimate way that he was ever going to reach his potential was he was going to have to start beating defenses with his mind and by manipulating them with his eyes and with his play and whatnot. And that's been one of the biggest things. Is you can tell that he's really confident in what's going on and where he is quarterbacking this team, because he is going in there, he's looking to the right and then hitting the guy to the left, manipulating guys to move where he needs them to move to make plays, because defenses, make no mistake, unless they're in straight man coverage, only watching their guy, they're watching the quarterback's eyes. So that's how you get the safeties where you want them, so that you can throw that route right where it's designed to go. And Tua definitely showed that off in a big way in this game, and that's been a big part of why he's been better throughout the season. But it was really on display today with what he was doing, and that's that next step of quarterback Jedi. And it's one of the hardest things and hardest ones for quarterbacks to develop. There's a ton of guys that don't ever get to that point. And it's not just on plays where they're throwing it on first down or throwing it when the defense isn't expecting it. This is also on pure passing situations too, where Tua is getting third downs, Tua is making chunk throws down the field. He's not as good with his deep ball, especially yet. He still underthrows Tyreek and Jalen at times, and it did cost him a pick on one of the plays to Waddle today. It's just that it flutters a little bit for my taste when it's some of the deep balls, and it's just been a little underthrown. Jalen and Tyreek are elite at the point of catch for speed guys, so that has bailed him out a good deal, and Tyreek's been able to come back and get some of those balls. Same with Jalen, but that is a problem at times. But at the same time, Tua doesn't make too big a deal about it, because he doesn't let it hold him back from trying to make those plays and trying to make those throws. Doesn't always work. And ultimately, that may affect his upside, as far as probably doesn't have the same upside as Justin Herbert. But he's showing more advanced quarterbacking skills than what Justin Herbert is showing us in year 3 at this point. For Justin, it's still more based on his physical tools. So if Justin can make those steps up that Tua is making currently, then Justin ultimately could probably be the better quarterback. However, it's not to say that he'll ever make those adjustments and ever be able to make those same type of plays. Not all the guys get there. Mitch Trubisky never got there. Jared Goff still isn't there and will never get there. He just can't process on that level, and he doesn't have the same amount of acumen and smarts when it comes to making those types of plays. And Tua is showing us that he's not just a product of the offense. The offense, the receivers, all of that is a part of what makes it so explosive and so over the top. But it's also the fact that Tua is a general out there throwing really accurate balls. The deep balls are one thing. Everything above in front of 25 yards, he is putting it on the money and allowing Tyreek and Jalen to run with it. And that's one of the most dangerous things you can have, is getting the ball to Tyreek, getting the ball to Jalen, and letting them run with it at top speed. And when Tua, it's not just, oh, he puts it in the area. He's putting it out in front of him where it hits them right in the numbers when they get it there. And that's what he's shown us flashes of that in the past. He just hasn't had the offensive scheme that gets him those passes consistently. And he hasn't had the receivers that are consistently catching the ball the way that his guys are now. Even Trent Sherfield, I would have killed to have watched Trent Sherfield with some of those teams where we're talking about under replacement level guys that are in there because of injury and because of other things. And then you throw on the fact that Mike McDaniels has thrown a whole nother level of creativity into the way that he runs things and the way that the Dolphins do things. And it's just made a world of difference for Tua. But my overall point is it's not just the peripheral things that are adding to it. They are highlighting what the progress he's made and helping him make more progression. But it's not ultimately only that. It's the fact that Tua is playing a lot better. Speaking of playing a lot better, I don't like that I had to wait so long to talk about Justin Fields and his kind of coming out party style game today. It hasn't been just today by any means. They've been unleashing Justin throughout the last couple of weeks. It really started in the New England game for me when they started designing more runs and it seemed like they gave more freedom for Justin to take off in those games. But obviously, today was the big special one where it all came together. Despite the loss, I pulled my Bears friends, and every last one of them was excited. And as encouraging as it was to see Justin out there chopping it up and getting yardage, chunk plays, not just when the defense wasn't expecting it on third downs, which is especially important, not just on like 3rd and 1s either. We're talking like 3rd and 10s. He's ripping the ball down and taking off. And it looks so super smooth and fast. He doesn't have the same short area quickness as like Kyler or some of the faster guys, but he hit 21 miles per hour on one of the plays. And you can see that defenses are having trouble tracking him down. Miami didn't do a great job sealing the edges and keeping him within the pocket. The Cowboys did a little bit better job last week of that. But even then, he was getting the Cowboys goat on a good deal of that and was very frustrating. The Cowboys should have had way more sacks than 4 on that game, and he was getting away from them. And I just watched New England play the team that he took on before that and was able to get away from a great deal as well. And they just crushed Sam Ehlinger and the Indianapolis Colts and got Frank Reich fired, which we'll talk about a little bit later. So yes, 1 win, 2 losses in the last 3 games. And overall, the record doesn't look great, but still, I've been highly encouraged when you have to worry about Justin on the level that you have to worry about him running the ball, not just in the scrambles, but now with the designed runs as well. That sticks in the back of the mind of the defense. And now they're a lot slower to take on Khalil Herbert and David Montgomery on those bootlegs and on the zones. They have to respect Justin's ability to get outside the pocket on the bootleg and take them for yards, which was also something that they were dialing up a good deal as well. And I really love the way that Justin is faking the ball, putting the ball up against his hip and hiding it from the defense on those plays. That was beautiful and really made me encouraged for them because those fakes looked really good. And then you've got somebody that can challenge the edge the way that Justin can challenge the edge. That is a problem. And then he's got a power arm as well. So when he's not being forced to sit in the pocket and make super quick decisions and get the ball out super quick, then he's dangerous. He's really dangerous. Claypool adds something to that as well. I know the box score doesn't show a lot for Claypool, but honestly, we're one Claypool pass interference call. Not that he got called for it, but he should have gotten pass interference called for him getting draped over on 3rd down away from the Bears absolutely being in this game and possibly winning it. Because not only in this game and on that last play, but I feel like Claypool just gives them an overall level of wide receiver that they haven't had to this point. And once they're able to work him in more, he gives Justin a big target to throw it up to and to create run after the catch situations with. They haven't really had that big physical guy that can take a short pass and run with it as well. and and they've been dying for that type of presence. So it was exciting to see him in limited action out there, get what he got and show what he could for Justin. And that kind of diverts some of the attention away from Darnell Mooney, who got and Cole Kmet, who all got touchdowns on this day as well. So it just kind of puts everybody in their place. That's what we were talking about in last week's trade deadline pod is when you get everybody cast in the right role, everything looks a lot better. And between Justin's running and having a little extra juice in those positions, you're able to overcome the offensive line woes a lot more because there's more for the other team to worry about. And Justin running and having to target him and worry about him as a runner creates bigger problems for the defense and creates less coverage because you're having to spy him or whatever it is. And even if you do spy him, you better make sure it's a dang safety that can run. You better not be putting any linebacker spies unless you're just worried about between the tackle boxes, because he's not going to take Justin to the edge. It's not going to happen. So exciting times for Chicago on the Justin front. And I like the way that the team is progressing from a coaching standpoint as well. Feels like they get better every week. Feels like they put together solid game plans and are willing to adjust. And if the Colts firing and the way that Chicago has been playing on defense tells us anything, Eberflus was kind of the muscle behind that regime as well. Because spoiler alert for the Colts, they have looked discombobulated on defense the entire time since Eberflus has been gone. When you think about head coaches, also think about who they've got behind them. And if you're too good, and if you're good at a certain time, you may lose those guys. And it's a whole vicious cycle with this NFL coaching thing. And I think if I'm a Bears fan, I'm encouraged by the whole kit and caboodle of it all. And then the fact that I have $100 million to spend in free agent money next year, not that you want to win free agency, but the fact that you can afford to do so, definitely encouraging overall for the Bears. As I said, I've watched a bunch of games. I actually watched the Buccaneers and Rams second, but I've already hit so many already that they're all starting to mold together. I think we all got a big snootful of the Rams and the Buccaneers, so I may not go too terribly overboard with my findings here. But the reason I rewatched the game and wanted to talk about it is it kind of illustrates something that we're seeing with the overall NFL. And it's beautiful with this game because you kind of have two guys from a different era at one time with Tom Brady and Matthew Stafford, an era of which they both have won the last two Super Bowls. So to say that their era is over is ludicrous at best. It's just their teams are not as good as they were in those years. And I still believe you drop Tom Brady and Matt Stafford into a lot of situations and they're going to make it happen. They're complete quarterbacks who have the ability to work all the different parts of the field from the pocket and beat you with their mind. Brady still has all the physical skills and tools. The arm strength is there. I don't see much drop off at this point, having watched him pretty much every game to this point, as well as last year. So I don't see a huge drop off as far as the physical skills for him or for Matthew. It's funny. It's nearly the same exact problem that both teams are having. And it's funny because both defenses are set up perfectly to exploit that problem. And it feels like it's much more pronounced for the Rams. And that may be the reason right here that we're talking about the Bucs getting this win in the first place, because the Rams have this problem and both defenses, like I said, they're set up to take advantage of it. It's the interior. And for the Rams, it's also the edges of their offensive line have not been good to this point and have not really gelled, or for the Buccaneers, not even been given a chance to gel because of the injuries, because of the people that they've lost to this point. For both teams at the time of their Super Bowl win, their offensive lines were in much, much better shape. And although the Rams weren't particularly good at running the ball during their Super Bowl run, they were still able to pantomime it and to get something out of it so that the rest of the offense could flow. And then they had a little bit better receivers around Cooper Kupp with Odell Beckham to a certain point. So they were able to get by. Plus, they had a lot more juice in their pass rush at that time as well. The non-re-signing of Von Miller has been a lot bigger than I think any of us realized. The good thing in this game was that Aaron Donald was okay to take advantage of the Buccaneers' middle part of their line, because while they have Donovan Smith and Tristan Wirfs on either side of their line, so they're sure on those parts, Donovan isn't perfect by any means, but I really like Wirfs a lot. Their middle part of the offensive line is getting crushed on, and then you throw in the fact that it's Aaron Donald and the rest of that defense doing the crushing, and that's a big time problem for that Bucs line. Just like this, in the same way that Vita Vea and Shaq Barrett, along with Hicks, is a problem for that Rams line. The amount of push that both lines were able to get up the middle really got both these quarterbacks off their game. And outside of Cooper Kupp, the Rams don't really have a lot of run after the catch guys to get them extra yards in the short passing game too. So you're not able to block for the longer stuff, but you're also not able to take advantage of Brady and Matthew Stafford's ability to be really on time and to make accurate, quick throws. So you have to have Brady sit back there longer. You're not able to run the ball in the same way that you were during the Super Bowl run at all. And it's not like Lenny has fallen off that much. It's the fact that you don't have the same amount of push. You're not getting the same amount of bang for your buck with those plays. And it's just all on the Bucs to make big plays. And you can pretty much just play them over the top and not worry as much about all that other stuff. And it's a big problem. And unless Cooper Kupp is going deep for the Rams, they have those same problems. Allen Robinson isn't near as explosive as Odell was in that role last year. He's fine and he makes some good catches, but he just doesn't get that same amount of separation. And then you throw in both teams' non-ability to run the ball. They're both a lot more balanced than people realize. You see Brady and you see Stafford back there, and it's, they air the ball out. Well, both these offenses were based during their primes were based more on the run than I think people realize. So the fact that it's not going all that super well for either of these teams is not surprising. You just have to get down to the nitty gritty of it. And the nitty gritty of it is that they can't protect these quarterbacks. And the reason I was talking a little bit up front when I started talking about these teams, about quarterbacks from a different era, et cetera, is that these guys are also two of the more classic pocket passing, not able to get out of the pocket. And in Brady's case, not as willing to take a hit to get the ball off. And that is causing problems for these teams in a league where it's more and more based on getting the quarterback out of the pocket and into space and their ability to get away from pressure with their mobility. These quarterbacks don't have those same abilities that some of these younger, more mobile-based quarterbacks do. And while those quarterbacks face problems with their ability to stay healthy and on the field, it's a tightrope that you have to walk right now, but you still need to be able to threaten a defense with your legs for the most part for most of these teams, unless you're able to create really, really solid pockets for Tom Brady and Matthew Stafford to be able to read the field and use their knowledge with. And because they don't have that same level of mobility like Tua is able to create, or Justin on the way more extreme, but even Tua, who isn't close to the same level of athleticism as Justin or your high level athleticism guys, even his ability to get out a little bit and work off of all that Mike McDaniel play action stuff is critical to what they've been doing. And Matthew and Tom don't even have at that level. They're still be able to work within a cleaner pocket, but the pockets have been really muddled with their inability to be able to stand up the middle. And then you throw in, like I said, Aaron Donald, Vita Vea, a bunch of guys that are able to get pressure up the middle. And it was a recipe for disaster in a window that only had 2 games. So we got a whole snootful of punts and whatnot until the very end when Brady was able to put it together. Kudos to him. They got the win, saved the season, whoever won this game. seemed like they were going to save their season and put themselves back into contention here. Rams still aren't out of it, but it's not a good feeling right now if you're the Rams, obviously, and even when you're the Bucks that struggled, you got the job done in the end. The next game I watched was a horribly painful game between the New England Patriots and the Indianapolis Colts. I had fully planned to go over the Vikings and Commanders first, but running a little long, so we may save them till next time. We'll see how this segment goes. The reason I watched this game, I kind of already knew what had happened. I got a pretty decent view of it when it was going on live. And then I went back and rewatched just to see how truly bad it was on offense and really just overall for the Indianapolis Colts to get Frank Reich fired at this point. And it's obviously not just this game by any means, but this was pretty bad. I have to wonder if it's been the decisions for Frank Reich as far as who is going to be his quarterback, or whether it's just been his lack of continuity with anything to do with the offense, or what it was in the end that truly got him fired. But deciding to start at Sam Ellinger in a mode where you're trying to get wins, or if that was truly the goal, was not a great decision. Obviously, going with Carson Wentz, Phillip Rivers was fine. Going with Carson Wentz was one thing. Matt Ryan, fine, whatever. But really, going to Sam Ellinger is somehow even worse than all of that. I guess you didn't give up draft picks to do that, so it's probably not as bad. But still, Sam is completely overwhelmed out there from a passing standpoint, which doesn't surprise me at all when he wasn't all that great a passer at Texas to begin with. And then it didn't seem like that was all that likely to transfer in the NFL. But what's even worse is that he looks completely unathletic out there as well. Like, he's closer to Jared Goff as a runner than I ever would have thought possible watching him in college to any degree. Now, I went to Texas Tech. I'm not a UT sympathizer here by any means, but I thought he had something to give when it came to running around. But instead, he looks like a bad pocket passer who is struggling to get outside of the pocket as well. And even when he does, it's not like he's making elite decisions to do anything with as well. So that kind of seems like the death blow to me as far as this team and as far as Frank Reich goes. It's kind of too bad that they won as many games as they did so that they can be at the top of the line as it comes to NFL quarterback prospects in the draft. The Texans, the Panthers, the Lions, even though the Lions won a game today, are going to have something to say about that. Still, I think that's way down the list of concerns at this point, I guess. And NFL teams don't really do that as far as the tanking and the whatnot typically. So I don't think that they're going to come out and do that. Jeff Saturday, oddly, is the coach now. It seems like an odd choice to be certain, but a former Colt in a season that's already kind of lost, maybe give him a chance to see if he's got something. He's a smart guy and he's one of your own. So, okay, why not? But still seems a little out of left field here. And but it's a lost season, so who cares? Regardless, though, to my point, it's not just that the quarterback choices that sunk Frank Reich. His offense has not looked good to this point. Even when Matt Ryan was in there, the offensive line has really lost something and is no longer the strength of this team. I think probably the lack of adjustments to the Patriots simply running in, pretending to go off the edge and then cutting in or looping in to take on the guards and continually getting sacks. Not just that Sam Ellinger was holding the ball too long, but that from a schematic standpoint, they weren't getting things done and weren't getting things blocked. And that's a coach's problem. You're the offensive coach and you're supposed to have answers. And Frank Reich just hasn't had any answers to this point. Kind of feels like if everything was going good and the offensive line was there, everything would be all right. But then, you aren't able to adjust when you don't have all the conditions just perfect. And that's a big problem in the NFL because there's going to be teams that are going to be able to take away what you like to do, because teams are going to be able to get film on you. They're going to see what your tendencies are and what your capabilities are, and they're going to dare you to beat them another way. And you're going to have more plays in the playbook and the like. And it just seems like Frank had run his time. So it's not surprising to me that he's gone at this point. But the Jeff Saturday part is kind of surprising. That kind of hit me on the side of the head. But good for them for trying. If it doesn't work, they're horrible and they get up higher in the draft. If it does, great. They've got a guy that should be loyal to them and the like with Jeff Saturday. On the other side of the ball, I'll be short since we're running a little long here. I don't think that Mac Jones has taken as many steps with his progression as I would like. Now, it does remind me of Tua a little bit in that he's going to have to be one of those guys that beats people with his mind and is super accurate and doesn't make mistakes, because he doesn't have those same physical upsides of some of the Josh Allen, Patrick, my favorites. Like, he doesn't have that same type of ceiling that they have with his physical tools. He's got enough arm for sure, by all means, but the decision-making part of it hasn't progressed all that much to this point. It kind of feels like he's the same exact guy nearly. Like, where's the extra physicality? Where's the extra speed? That's not there. Although he may still be having some lingering ankle action there, so that could be sapping up part of it. But it just hasn't seemed like he's really made as many strides as I would have liked, and he's not flashing in the same way that I would have liked to say, hey, this is a guy that I think can take that next step. Like, I'm there with Trevor. I'm there with Justin. They're showing me flashes. Zach even has some better flashes than what Mac is showing me, but Mac is 10 times more composed. Don't get me wrong, but still, I don't know, with the way Mac has been playing, if he's not going to progress and he's not going to make big time strides to be, essentially we're talking about a guy that nearly has to be Tom Brady and be one of those more pocket-based guys to get things done. And we kind of always knew that, but I guess I'm just underwhelmed with the whole thing. I think he should be getting more out of what he's been given to this point. And I think the Patriots feel it too. I think there was a reason they were willing to go with Zappe so easily. And while they won this game, if they'd have been able to put up any sort of credible offense, that would have been a problem for them. And when Mac is pressed into service, into having to play upper level quarterback, how does he respond? Haven't seen a whole lot of things that make me feel like good about it. So I'm going to be watching closely, but I'm going to need to see more at the same time for sure. Well, that's the time I've got for today. We'll save Minnesota and Washington for next time. I'm thinking Minnesota, Washington, Raiders, Jaguars, Seahawks, Cardinals, and probably one more. We'll see. We'll see how. Maybe we'll check in on the Bengals without Jamar Chase, or Chargers, Falcons. I'm gonna watch them all. There's exciting games. I'm feeling strong with all the games and being able to watch them and whatnot, and bringing you the content as far as what I'm seeing with your teams and with and throughout the NFL. Look for more videos this week and earlier in the week. Like I said, we're getting to the podcast earlier. We're getting to the videos a little earlier. We've got internet. Please give the sponsor a call if you get a chance. Evergreen Power Solutions. We're super excited to have them. We're super excited to not be doing this just for the love of the game anymore. Number is 214-444-9816. See if they can save you some money on power, and have a great rest of your day.